Hello and welcome to my channel. Try this as a series breaking down a certain game or playstyle of a game. Today we're going to be talking Commander and breaking down Slicer Hired Muscle. If you enjoy this content, then please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps other viewers discover the content I produce and is a great way to show support. With that said, let's dive in. Slicer is a 3/4 robot with haste and double strike that costs 4 red, with an alternate casting cost of 2 red. He has a triggered ability that reads, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of Slicer until end of turn. If you do, untap Slicer, goad it, and it can't be sacrificed this turn. If you don't, convert it. If he converts or you cast him for his alternate cost, then he's instead a 3/2 vehicle with living metal, first strike, and haste. Living metal just means he's a creature on your turn, but otherwise he's a vehicle. His ability on this side reads, whenever Slicer deals combat damage to a player, convert it at the end of turn. Slicer is a very aggressive Voltron commander who can quickly tack up some commander damage in the early game before he's answered in some way. I've played maybe 7 games with Slicer, and in most of my games, I got all my opponents to roughly 12 to 18 commander damage by around turn 5. What normally happens is my opponents realize they're going to die if they don't juggle the damage, so they spread it out or they just throw it into each other's creatures to try and stall for an answer. What makes him so insane is that he's the most effective form of a pass-along Voltron commander. In the past, there's been several iterations of commanders like these, for example as Corona or Karn the Betrayer. The idea is that you can quickly build up commander damage because your opponents can help you apply it. The problem is that your opponents didn't have to swing to help you out, they could just swing into you, or you played into their game plan, giving them something to sacrifice for value. Slicer solves all of these problems by keeping him from getting sacrificed and goading it. He's the first truly effective pass-along commander. A quick note that while he's converted, he's not a creature on our opponent's turns. Anything attached to him, like equipment, will fall off. This can make the 1v1 situation a little tricky, but if everything's going according to plan, your last opponent will likely have plenty of commander damage to start with. The only downside is that he doesn't have any form of evasion. Giving him flying with something like Zephyr Boots, pseudo unblockable with Prowler's Helm, or trample with Tenzo will carry us the rest of the way. He's really difficult to deal with at this point, forcing your opponents to take care of him with some spot removal or a board wipe. With all these cards being equipment, they'll likely stick around through most board wipes you typically see in EDH or spot removal. So we can just recast Slicer with either mode, re-equip him, then continue the carnage. Quick rules point while picking equipment for this list. We want cards that trigger themselves and not give Slicer their abilities. Cards like the Reaver Cleaver sounds incredibly good in this list, but we really want something like Sword of Hearth and Home or Goldvein Pick. Though the Cleaver gives trample and could generate us a ton of treasures, it actually gives Slicer the ability to do so. When we pass around Slicer, anything we attach to him we still control even though we don't control the creature. So the Reaver Cleaver is attached and our opponents swing with him and they'll actually get the treasure. If the pick or the sword is attached to him though, then we get the benefit of those equipment cards and not our opponents. There's a ton of equipment cards that apply their buff in both ways, so just keep that in mind. This is the most notable in cards that give keywords. Equipment like Luxodon Warhammer and Shadow Spear are both amazing in this list, but they will provide your opponents with a ton of life because they give Slicer lifelink. However, we don't really care. We're a Voltron deck and we only need to do 21 damage to our opponents, so their life total doesn't affect us. These cards provide trample and will heal us on our turn as well. For some draws, we can run Rogue's Gloves, Mask of Memory, and Infiltration Lens. Again, all these effects are tied to the equipment cards, so we're the only one getting value from them. The first two we'll get 2 triggers from since Slicer has double strike. Naginta, Vorik Battlehorns, and Commander's Plate will provide more evasion for Slicer. Since the plate protects from everything but red, it's likely to make Slicer unblockable in most cases. The other 2 are cheap trample effects we can quickly cast and apply to Slicer. We can also get a lot of utility from our commander attacking so much. Tome of Legends, Staff of Titania, and Sword of the Animus are all attack triggers that provide us with additional value. The latter 2 ramp us, while the staff populates our board for blockers. Tome will give us plenty of draws as well. There's honestly a bunch of different effects that are pretty budget friendly that would work well with Slicer. Sword of Hours, Strength Testing Hammer, and Shiny Impetus are some more good examples. The Hammer and Impetus work on attack, so it doesn't matter if Slicer is blocked or not for their value. The Sword works well with Double Strike and grows with the attack trigger as well. I want to give a special shout out to Komanito Battle Armor in this deck. While it's configured on Slicer, again we still control it and we're the ones who go to our opponent's creatures. So not only does it anthem our commander and provide menace, it protects us from our other opponents if it manages to connect. I hope you all enjoy this quicker video format. It was a lot of fun piloting Slicer, though he's a super aggro Voltron commander. I think if your opponents aren't familiar with him, it's probably worth mentioning how fast the games can go if Slicer goes unanswered. He's a very fun and straightforward budget-friendly commander that I think is really worth giving a try as he only costs $1 at the time of recording. If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. Comment below on cards you think synergize well with this commander, and if you have any suggestions for commanders to build in the future. Thank you so much for watching, good luck, and have fun.